item to go up and, I'd like to discuss is community house. We had, first of all, we're talking about the woman. We tried to go local, and it was $1,000 high. We were able to obtain off of the other bids that she had. So, then we're close. That would be my recommendation to go local. But him getting $1,000 higher, and they tell me that he has to get his information out of Birmingham since they sold out. You know.
And I think some of it is different brands, but I'm happy with the brand if that's the one you're able to get.
Well,
So I don't problem more than that.
I went back to KJ and he got me a bid on that same
Oh, did he?
warmer.
Okay.
And then I sent him an email back asking him if there was any way they could do a little better on that quote. And I haven't heard back from him.
So we're fine. Yeah. So I think it was the $1,500.
1505, I think it was, something like that.
Okay.
Exactly like one we got.
No, exactly like one guy, but that brand, I don't know anything about it, but I know that brand, we've had success with it because it's one that church runs, and I have one like that. I have another brand too, but that brand is the one that I have had good luck out of, and we've had one at church for years, and then we had good luck out of it. I don't even know any problem we've had with that one. That's all. The other brands I didn't know anything about. That's the only thing.
Is that one on the, I know it's probably so, it's on GFI, in the kitchen, it's on GFI, like surge protector.
It's on one of those, like, funny, like your stove.
The plug-in is 110, but it's got a different type of plug-in. You can't plug a regular unit in.
It's got a neutral and a ground,
Yeah.
in other words.
So we'll have the second question came up about the heating and cooling system down there. And I know we had talked about going all electric on it. However, South Alabama Gas is willing to come back and discount the system over $500 and do the installation at no cost to us. Now, they won't do the AC installation. And when you look at it, so if you look at the incentives that they offer versus doing just an electric heat pump, is a little over $2,000 difference. So what I did, I went back and asked for quotes on the heating and cooling system there at the community house and on the split system, and we gave the same requirements to each vendor that we asked.
Well, that's what we were going to do. Once we have this
Right.
okay, they will come in and do the split system, give us a quote on the split system.
I think the split system will save us some money and being able to go back and do that. So,
Heat gas wise is a lot more economical than electric. Okay, if you can.
so, we could proceed to do with that. So when we get into the actual meeting, I'm going to offer up a motion to proceed with the purchase of the warmer and not the heating and cooling system until we get an opportunity to get these other folks. Okay. Gentlemen, next item on the agenda is discussion of the classification pay plan. We have gone through.
Mayor.
And we have
Mayor,
spent a lot of time on this.
we get Dawn Bruton.
Oh, yes.
No, sorry,
But for
Is she,
I don't know where she is.
And ask her to bring Chucky in with her.
Sorry.
Wait a minute, I said somebody on the floor at the community house, I went down there the other day, that floor is in really bad shape. When you first walk into this.
I'm gonna bring that up.
I got
in my
you.
remarks.
Okay. Mr. Rowe.
You want to hand me the old one?
Well done. We actually want to discuss the event for the July 4th event.
Yes. Typically for our Freedom Fest event, we start out with rides with the children, water slides, a train ride. We have a DJ with music. And then we have concessions and vendor booths along with eating contests. And then we have our live entertainment under the tent. And then we have our fireworks that start at dark, like around 9 o'clock-ish. And they last for a good 30, 35 minutes. And then everything kind of shuts down at that point and everybody leaves. So I've talked with the rides people, the train can sanitize in between. If you want them to do that. I've talked with downtown rentals because we try to promote as locally as possible. They said that there's no way really to sanitize on a water slide. So that's the opinion that you all have to kind of decide on if you want to have water slides or not, and how that will affect the beings of everyone. And then again, concessions with food should be okay, and vendor booths should be okay. I guess, you know, we kind of have to kind of make it what we want it to be at this point. I brought Chuck in because the governor just had new orders in place yesterday. And if you want to tell them a little bit about the orders.
Yeah, there were 2 orders basically, and the ones that would affect any kind of 4th of July events you may have. Everybody's heard of the stay at home or the safer at home order that's been in place since last year. It's actually going to go away May 28th. So there will be no health order from the state about any regulations, whether it be social distance, masking, or anything, come May 28th. And the July 6th state of emergency will be lifted, which will have to be in place for the state health officer to put those orders in place. It also affects some other things like video conferencing for state and local officials. You have to be in person at that point to vote and stuff like that, which I think y'all are all doing that by now. And it takes away any of the purchasing powers without bid processes on certain things that are COVID related, starting July 6th. The other guidance you got to look at is the CDC. And all they're doing now is just for large events, large gatherings, trying to promote social distancing and mask wearing. It, you know, not as a mandate, but outside of your household, you can't stay within 6 feet of other people to wear masks. So some of the measures y'all done in the past for hand sanitizing, social distancing, marketing and stuff like that should more than suffice for anything you want to do before July.
Don, is there an alternative to the water slides and all that?
There is a mechanical bull that we also bring out. And again, to sanitize, I mean, Al can kind of fill you in with sanitation information. I think it's about 14 minutes before another person can get on and have clearance, you know, if we needed to sanitize with that. But again, that's all downtown. Right?
What about the availability of the splash pad and the pool?
That's open. They, when we look at those guidelines, they're allowed to be wide open.
Plus, I think that water is chemically treated with chlorine too, so I think that's okay. And as far as the kill rates on something for the fluoride, how you can, there's lower kill times than 14 minutes. So
Some of them as low as 1 minute.
sure, so as low as 1 minute. So there would be options for that. I'm assuming any water slides are not going to be treated water to just be straight out of the city system and stuff.
It's going to be right off the pool water that we have off of the municipal pool.
But there again, come May 28th, there's not going to be any guidance from the state whatsoever on that. So that's going to be solely at your discretion.
It'll be solely up to the city and the mayor.
Not that it wasn't before, but I'm just saying, there's nothing to lean back on saying that you can't do it. So,
Okay,
and just as an overall side note too, I just want everybody to know, case numbers are staying pretty steady and fairly low. There's some information out there that affects nursing home stuff called a risk indicator. And sometimes it does show us an elevated level, but I just want everybody to realize right now it's at yellow, which is the second lowest. It's not necessarily an indicator of how the county is doing because our numbers are so low. On a percentage basis, you only have to tick up a case or two before it'll start saying you're actively going higher. Just as a reference point, right now we're at 22 active cases, and at our highest point we were at 269. So at 250 active cases, if you had 3 or 4 cases add to it, it would not put us in a higher rate. At 22, if you have 3 or 4 cases added to it, it would kick you up into a higher rate. So just overall for the last month, the county's been doing very well. There's vaccinations available for anybody that wants it now. So there's no shortage in that. And starting now, the health department will take walk-ins at any time on Tuesdays from 9 to 3, no appointment necessary. So I would encourage anybody that wants to get vaccinated still has that opportunity to do so. They do not. They have Moderna, so it's 18 and above. And there are places, I think Franklin Clinic has it, Main Street Urgent Care has it, but they have other options as well.
And the other thing about 4th of July is that the funding that we paid for last year, that has rolled over.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a contract for entertainment.
Yes, we do have a contract for entertainment. And everything is on pretty much standby for tonight. So it's, Celebrations has the tent on hold for us for that day and for the rain date of the 5th. Because the 4th sits on a Sunday. So there was a request from the council to move the date to Saturday, July 3rd, and the rain date would be the 5th.
And as far as the guidelines that you're concerned, we still follow CDC guidelines of social distancing. If your family group remain together, the asking everybody to wear their mask and utilize hand sanitizer.
If we take care of those 3 options, I think we'll be doing more than what we need to ensure that everybody's safe.
Okay. All right, I guess that's down where we stand. Does any council member have questions?
Oh, some question with the food items,
Yes, sir.
watermelon and ice cream, would that
The
maybe
eating contest.
eliminate those or not? Or keep, we're gonna still go along with them or not?
You can if you want to.
That's the only thing that I would think
We
there'd be
can-
any closeness of, if
We
we,
can move them with more tables and spread them
Okay.
out. I know we're,
the other stuff, if people wanna do it and come as a family, and you can go to the vendors and ride that, that's to some extent their own personal decision. But the other thing, if we're congregating, we're
I'm
kind of,
assuming that none of those things are going to be sharing. food,
Yeah,
So
okay.
as long as you keep them apart. you'll be
Okay.
fine.
the ice cream is, in the little cup.
yeah, okay,
And then the hot dogs, Piggly Wiggly normally does that for us, and they're individually wrapped.
Okay.
Watermelon is watermelon.
Thank you for
And,
protection.
yeah, and Darby's normally does that for us as well.
On the slides and all that, can we maybe go ahead and reserve them and then decide closer to time whether we'll actually set them up or not?
Well, I've talked with her and she's pretty much got us on standby. Basically, we are at their, she hasn't done any big events. They've done strictly in the bubble, at your house, birthday parties, and then sanitize them when they get back.
I think a lot of that stuff is gonna be buyer beware. I mean, it's gonna be some extent, if you want the children to go out there, you're welcome to do it, if not, then you don't.
I would say at this point, there's plenty of information out there for people to make
Make your own decision and go from there.
And we'll just publish what our guidelines are. It's not mandatory, you know, this is recommended. And,
They are saying we're gonna provide fireworks. Go ahead.
You know, and I've talked with a couple of other cities and, we're all talking to each other because it's getting around that time. And, you know, they were asking what we're doing and how they're gonna do it. We've been comparing notes and I think, ours is a little different where we have rides and stuff and it's very children oriented during, you know, the afternoon hours where some cities don't provide that in the bigger cities because it's just too much. But with us being a small town, we're able to offer it to our residents and their guests, and it's a nice event for everybody. And everybody enjoys it, but that's all gonna be your call at this point. I've got everybody on standby, and we're ready to move in whichever direction you want to move.
I hear everybody saying.
Think we're ready?
"Go forward with it."
We're ready to move.
sign
And
contract.
go status quo, what we've done in the past then, and just make sure we've got ample sanitation out there.
There is one other point, that, I may have to take into consideration. It was brought up yesterday at the department head meeting, and it was about, security and law enforcement presence. I don't know if there would be enough police officers to handle all of the positions. I asked the chief to go back and identify where the biggest problem areas are. And there's a possibility that we may have to go out and contract private security to handle the less problem areas. And I talked with Michael about, because they had been using, I think, police officers to carry water and stuff around, and using one of the public works workers to do that. So that's not a law enforcement function.
Could we use the ex-chief, Rudolph, could we use him if we need some more security?
That's what we're talking about outside security.
That's what I was gonna
Might
do.
be able to use him.
It may be, it's easier to do a contract with a security company and bring them in because they're licensed and fine.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if we had been, you know, a policeman, he probably would be good.
Now, you know,
I'm
that's,
sure he'll be too glad to have.
I'm quite sure you would, but I do know, because I don't know how many yet. So that's why I would say it'd be easier to contract with a licensed and bonded security company to provide the parking directions and stuff in the rest of it. You know, that way we'll be able to handle that portion of it.
Maybe the sheriff's office may help us some as well with additional personnel.
It's possible. What I did, I just looked at worst case scenarios. I couldn't get anything. You know, what would be the solution? And to me, if you got higher license, bonded security, then, you know, any issue that comes up, you know, they're prepared to be covered by liability insurance and all.
I think the biggest problem we have is out there is traffic. For the most part, you know, fire department help out with that too.
The fire department will be there and,
It's more the exiting than it is the entrance.
if they, you know, that if we do a contract with private security, we would tell them that'd be one of the responsibilities associated with it. You know, we can get this moved on and hopefully we won't have any unusual events. that take place. Anything else?
I think we're good then.
Oh,
I
what
just-
about that freeze that?
Yeah,
as far as
we are
what we do,
having the Freedom Fest pageant this Friday. It'll begin at 7 o'clock at the First United Methodist Church at Wesley Field, at Wesley Hall. Yeah, so if anyone's interested, they are more than welcome to attend. And we'd love to have you all there.
All right, well, I do thank you.
Yes, sir.
If you have no more questions,
Anybody questions, concerns? We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the classification plan review. Think we've gone through this. Inside, outside, and kind of what you like to look at it. What I would like to do is to give a 3-minute limit on discussion with each council member. 1 minute for questions and 2 minutes for response. And so we can go ahead and address this issue and move forward. Because I think we need to go ahead and get it resolved now. We just go to up or go down.
Do you need a copy? I had extra copies in case somebody forgot. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Chipper need one?
Okay.
I'll give that to Chipper.
You know, when we went through and we started this issue with looking at the pay plan, I just started my 3 minutes. The city requested an independent source to evaluate the position, job descriptions, and pay scale. And this process started in 2019. You all know this process started with GEDI from Auburn. And the objective was to have a non-biased review of the job descriptions and pay scale. There's no evidence that GEDI of Auburn University had any personal knowledge of any city employee or any relationship with any city employee. The job descriptions were developed based on evaluations using the U.S. Office of Personnel Management Factor Evaluation System. So they have a standard by which to go by in conducting this review. The job descriptions were reviewed by the department heads for accuracy. And they went to each department head, because I asked, and the department heads agreed with the job description. So the job descriptions were then used to determine the pay grade for each job and the pay step for each job. There was some flexibility to determine the starting pay step for each job. And there were some criteria utilized in which to do and establish where those steps and starting steps should be. The first criteria was when we went back and we looked at the surrounding pay rates for first responders. The Auburn plan was insufficient to be competitive with other police and fire department agencies. So therefore, we went through and we looked at it and we proposed starting pay rates. Like starting pay rate for a police officer or firefighter is $17.54 an hour, and it increases as it moves up. Now, I said that I was not afraid to admit whenever I went back and made an error. On the last sheet that was given out, I had a discussion with fire chief, and this discussion was not consistent with all. So that has been corrected. There was actually 5 firefighters that were affected by it. Those were reflected to be corrected to the correct pay grade and pay step. And that is what you see on your sheet there in front of you, and it is outlined in red. Now, there was flexibility included in the Auburn study to concerning the starting pay step for each job. There was also a provision for recognition of years of service that was provided in the plan. And there was areas to provide competitive salaries for first responders, which I just talked about. Now, there were criteria that were utilized equally for all city employees identified in the pay plan. And utilizing the provision provided to recognize the years of service. If a person had 10 to 15 years of service, instead of step 1, he started step 2. If a person has 15 to 20 years of service, instead of step one, he starts step three. So, the city does not have a performance evaluation system in place to use as a criteria to be used in implementing this pay scale. So funding has been identified to implement this plan to include recognition for years of service, beginning in the first pay period of the fourth quarter of this year. I feel this plan is fair and equal to all employees because it's based on position and not the person. City employees are the city's most valuable asset, and this is the right thing to do. Councilman Russell, would you like to have any comments, please?
Yes, I do agree with the new proposed plan as far as longevity. After consideration of looking at where we began and the study that Auburn did, and also looking at the subcommittee that put out, I think that it's more feasible for us to do the longevity thing. You have to go back in and look and see with some of these different grades. I know about the police department, I understand about the fire department and everybody else, but also public works and the city clerk's office need to be, also considered. And I think that with this longevity thing, they hit everybody. And like you said, Auburn did it. They don't know these people by name, so we're just going off the description that was given. And I do agree with the merit raise in the future by setting up some kind of form of performance, so these workers can get, raises and stuff like that. So I think that it's feasible for everyone to do what Auburn said and go along with this longevity plan. Because if you don't, you get yourself in there when you start calling out names and different things like that, and you start changing grades. If I'm not mistaken, people are hired in on their grade and you raise up by steps. So if you drop somebody by their grade, that's almost like you promote them. So, when you reach the level of your ceilings with your steps, then you go up to the next grade. So I think, you already paid these people $25,000 to do this study. So, that's the one that I think we should do.
Let's see what I can line.
Yes, ma'am. Point of order, Ms. Paulville. We'll give you 3 minutes if you want to. Yes, ma'am. And then I'm gonna come back and ask for a question. Councilman Thomas?
Yeah, when we first started out was, before we put the longevity in there, is that the Auburn plan was not, I didn't see the longevity part in the Auburn plan when we first started out on the get-go. We said we're gonna do the longevity after we approve the pay scale. So that's what I wanted to do, because number one, we said that, or one of the councilmen said that we want all the department head included in the longevity. So we're gonna do that. I'd rather do that during the budget time. And that's what we said we're gonna do in the beginning. So that's what I'd like to see done. And another thing on this plan was, I'm not singling out anybody, but we did say this, that I went back and looked at the Auburn study, and some of the people was demoted from this plan right here in the longevity plan. And I feel like it's fair to do without the longevity and do it during the budget time, so we get a better understanding of it.
All right. Councilman Hines?
As far as longevity, I like the idea of longevity, but I think it should be a continuing program. At whatever number of years the council decides. To me, the idea of longevity is to keep people, So if you want to give people, employees, a step raise after 10 years, 15 years, 20, whatever, whatever's decided amongst the council. But to me, that's what longevity is about. If you give what we're talking about now doing with longevity is just a one-time payment. Well, we've got one individual that has 9 years and probably got 10 years by now. Well, are they going to be left out of the plan? I'd like to see the longevity as a long-term plan for everybody, for all city employees and not just for the few that we're talking about now. Oh, a couple other things. On this last sheet that we got, the landscaper position is crossed out and there's no salary figure in there. I don't think we voted to do away with that position, did we?
Well, we tried to go through and fill it, and so this year the council came back and they said that, and they will come back and address that issue later. That's why we went with the,
Right,
other person down there.
right.
And I think one of the questions was because of the job description that was done and the pay grade that that position was put at was an issue. So, that's something that we can come back from that position, we can take up at, budget time or hearing or whatever. But you do have a job description for it, you do have a, pay grade and the steps and everything for it. But, since, we're not hiring for it.
Right.
That was not included in this suggestion.
But I was just thinking to get a total cost for doing this deal, we need those numbers plugged in. To say, okay, this is what it would cost us,
I'll be glad to provide that information at the,
to just get a bottom line number,
I'll be glad to provide that additional information at the next council meeting. But, we need to move on this thing.
On this, for the bottom line numbers, does this include going from the amount of money that's going to be required to go from the tier 2 to the tier 1? Is that included in the?
At the time that was, not included in it, I can tell you that it would be an additional, I think it was 17,000 a year.
That's just to get everybody that's currently on tier 2 onto tier 1.
on tier one.
And then for next year's budget figures, everybody will be at 7.5%. Or we'll have to get the actuarial amount.
Okay, so
This is just for this current fiscal year. So once budget hearings come in, then
what you're looking at to implement this beginning at the first of the fourth quarter is that we would have to we have the funding to pay the 17,000 for the remainder of this year, then we'll build it in as we build the 2022 budget.
yes, sir.
And one other thing, we had talked about moving the public works director. He's on the grade 9 now. It had been discussed about moving him up to a grade 10. Supervisor is the second largest number of employees.
Well, I do recall that conversation, and he had the opportunity when Alvin sit down and interview him concerning that job description, and he agreed. Now, if we want to come back at some other point and address that issue and get a job description that merits a grade 10, I don't have a problem with that. But I think what we need to do tonight is, that's just one issue that we do have the ability to come back and address, but I wouldn't want that to hold up moving forward implementing the plan.
Well, I'm not thinking about it holding up a vote on the plan. I'm thinking about just doing it, getting it done.
I understand the only issue with that is now you got a position out there that job description don't match. And it's very important for that to go back and happen. And as being the chief executive officer of the city, the responsibility to make sure that we are in compliance with all rules, regulations, and standards is my responsibility. So I can't in good conscience go back and say that we're gonna move a person without having the job description redefined.
It is what it is.
Councilman Bolton?
First thing, I want to thank all involved in the work they did, because I did very little work on this, and I do realize what was put, especially you, Mayor. Because by what I've seen, that you really put an effort into making sure everything was covered. I still, the only concern I have is the fact is that we did not follow on one situation, recommendation of the department head on classification of descriptions of people, personnel working under them, and that was fire chief. All this stuff, this whole thing hinges on qualifications, certifications, and everything else. That is why different jobs pay more than others, not for longevity, not for this, it's for the certification, the education and the requirements. One is what you're saying right there with the public works. The certification of that position is not equal to what a fire chief would be or a police chief would be. So, I mean, I'm not saying the ease of hiring somebody to fill a position is any easier, but for the qualification required is why there is a difference. And I think why he realizes that also.
That's their opinion.
Well, that's opinion, but I mean, that is true. I mean,
That's all it is their opinion.
yeah, and it's with any job on there. That's the only thing I have as far as accepting this. I feel we should have accepted the classification that was recommended from department head and not going with that part of it. There's some raises in there that in that department that may not be justifiable in my mind for that part. I mean, they're not saying they don't deserve it, but it's just that part of it. Except for that, I do appreciate everybody's work and effort, thoughts, and looking at this seriously. And wish we done had it going. So it takes it to cover these things like longevity to where that may be more equitable in some people's minds, like having a set thing when you reach that anniversary, you get that pay for everybody from now on, then I think that may be a consideration, but it's something wrong.
Councilman Bruce?
I've talked to quite a few people in District 1, and they're in favor of us passing this, getting behind this and moving on. I certainly want to do that tonight. My preference on the effective date would be July 1st. So I would definitely be voting in that direction if that motion comes up. I do have a question on at the bottom of the page, we have a 256,000 and a 227,000 number. They're not labeled. I was just going to see where those numbers came from. See where we're talking about here.
Mhm. I think that's what we budgeted this year. The difference, hold on.
256.
227.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, all the way down at the bottom.
Where that number came from is we had to make the adjustment in there for those 5 positions with firefighters. So that went back and that changed the numbers overall. So that is the difference between what the current budget is and what it costs to implement the pay plan. Now down here where you see the 256,000, where the difference comes in is see for those firefighters. When we plug those numbers in, that may just go up from $256,974 without the adjustment for the firefighters. When we add the 5 firefighters back in, that costs an additional $16,756. So when you add the 256 and the 16,000, that's where the 273. But that was just in the rate, but you had 1, 2, 3, 4 firefighters that should have been grade 7, step 8.
Numbers different on the other phone.
The number different on the other side is because what we have here is that when you add up all of the different changes and reducing grades and pay for some people and increasing grades and adding pay for some other people, this way you come up with that number of $2,902,750.25. So there's a difference between the budget of $249,084. Now, if you go back in and you look at the bottom figure down here, what you end up happening is that the total cost of all these changes increased the budget by $249,084. And the suggested changes to put them in place will cost $21,611.
So
So when you subtract the 249 from the 227, that's where you end up with the 21,000.
But the reason for the difference is longevity not being in the 227.
Yeah. That's correct. The longevity was basically already figured into the first one. So when we had to go back and we corrected the firefighters, which is the point that you and Councilman Hines pointed out, we corrected for the firefighters. And when we did that, that made a difference of $16,766.05.
The only other thing I was going to request, Mayor, is on the fire department. I think Larry wants to do the court separate if possible.
I don't have to.
I have provision for that. And
I don't have to, Al. I got it.
Now, Ann, you can't vote though, right?
Well, that's what I'm asking, if we can vote on the fire department separate.
I have.
and
I didn't think
allow
we
me to
could do
vote
that.
for all.
I didn't think we could do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Kipper, can we do that?
As long as he's not got to vote on anything that takes the sun, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought we just gonna vote for everything at one time. So what we gonna do, we gonna separate the fire department from the other two.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know we could do that.
Yes, ma'am. You can do that.
Did y'all check the delete?
Oh, yeah.
That's new to me.
Ms. McDaniel? Your
Yeah.
comment?
The fire department is okay, the police department, but, I'm always so looking for, just like I said, when this, thing, zero, we never did want to help them out. But I like what Anthony did on his team. But, I just going, we gonna vote today, right?
Yes, ma'am. I understand what you said
Because I
about,
noticed I mentioned, but, this once before, and you didn't say anything about that, I think it was at one of the meetings.
and this is the thing, and what the point is. We don't have a current pay plan. We don't have a pay plan that provides job description or anything of that nature. And what we're trying to do is get a pay plan in place. There are some recommendations on here that go back and it recommends starting people at higher than a standard. And what I ask for is criteria in determining that. The city does not have any criteria to determine performance or anything else. And so when you go back and you look at these and being consistent down the board, having criteria in place, is we moved everybody into step one. We had the rationale for moving them, the criteria for moving beyond to step two or step three. Now, personally, when I go back and look at this, I agree that people at the bottom, they do need more money. But I have to be consistent coming down. Now, I have a proposal to address that issue, to go back in and do that. But I don't want to buy no car one. I think for the purposes of getting the pay plan in place, that we move forward with it and we either vote it up or we vote it down. And I will bring back a proposal if the council desires at the next meeting to address that issue with these people that you're talking about. And it still would be in the guidelines of the pay plan. Do we have any other comment? Question? Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any feelings there's gonna be any dissension between or conflict between departments with these pay scales? Is there, by doing this, is the police gonna feel like they're been undermined by raising another department or a fire department by another department or either the work somewhere? Has there been any input of that part of anybody feel that that department's not being fairly treated? I don't know that. I'm just asking that question.
I personally speaking, I have not heard that. The only thing I have heard is that, especially when it comes to the police department, we continue to lose people because pay is not happening.
That's the part that I'm most concerned with.
And this was the other thing that I offered, because as I said, I am the chief executive operating officer of the city. Any person that wants an explanation about any difference on this pay plan make an appointment, come see.
The only thing I have an issue with, the police department fine, fire department fine. I totally agree with that. That's really, really good. But what got me confused was that when I went back and looked at some of the Auburn stuff, that I know I'm not calling no names, but y'all call them firefighters. Some of the employees were supposed to have been at the Auburn recommendation. Their pay scale changed from what Auburn said. They lowered their pay scale.
May I address it? This sheet right here, that was corrected. Those, initially it was identified 4, but it was actually 5. And they were put back on the recommended pay grade that Auburn had, which was a grade 7 at step 8. At 1943 an hour.
And it was another one also.
Yeah, the lieutenant.
The lieutenant,
It was four firefighters and lieutenant. Right?
Lieutenant was put in at the rate of grade 8, step 6, $20.46 an hour. It was correct.
But without the longevity, the revenue officer was at 1631 or 16, whatever, without the longevity of the sheet I had, and then they got, now they had 16 something with longevity.
Well, in 16, the revenue officer was actually at,
Let's see.
Here, Jackson, okay. The revenue officer, the current salary was 15. Okay, with the amount of time that you had on, she was started at step 2 when you look at longevity. So instead of 1665, she was at 1614.
With longevity.
The number of years, she had 13 years. So you got from 10 years to 15 years, you started step 2 versus step 1.
I just don't feel like longevity should be figured in. That's my thing, not for just a few people. And
Well,
it's not figured in. It's not figured in for the department heads.
Well, I have to give credit to the department heads, and I will. The department heads told me that they would sacrifice in order for their people to get their pay raise. Now, that's on the department heads. I didn't ask them to do that, but they're more concerned about their people than their personal situation. So, I appreciate that. And when you go through and you talk about how many people that it goes through and affects, it's not a small number, it's 15 people.
Mm.
So what you're doing, and this is the other thing that you have to grasp. This puts you on the pay scale. Now, when you get into doing the performance evaluation, you can take in account time for this. You can take in account the job performance. All that can be considered in awarding you a 1-step or 2-step pay raise or no pay raise, depending on your job performance.
Yeah, but why it took so long, I know what you're saying, but on these other people that we had got down here in the red, we had a little bit over a month to go ahead and to see how to propose that tonight too. Why are we having?
Well, I sent this out, and I would be upfront and honest with you. What is over here on this red in this last column? I can't justify the changes because you're changing the grade without changing the job description. And my question is, who is going to rewrite the job description? I don't have the expertise to write the job description, and that's not part of my duty. Unless you got a recommendation to hire somebody else to rewrite the job description and make that job description meet that pay scale.
But the grade 2, I mean, they just moved to step 5. That's all you did.
In grade 2, which one are you talking about?
It doesn't matter.
Well, all right, there's a grade 2. Let me see. There's a grade 5 step 2. All right, there's a grade 2 Right, there's grade two, step two, there's grade two, step one.
Yep.
And each one of those, like in this one, there's a grade two, step one is $8.88 an hour.
Mhm.
So, that moved from $7.88 an hour. But now, in my opinion, personally, I think it's too low, but in order to address that issue and get the pay scale in place, is like I said, I have a proposal. We can get this pay scale in place. Then I have a proposal to bring back to the council at the next meeting that will address all those people who are at that low rate. But, we gotta start somewhere.
Yes.
And this, from everything that I've said and I've seen, is the best place to start.
Yes.
So we get started, we come through, if there's other issues in there that we identify, we figure out how to address them and move on. But I'm looking at some of these wages on here, and I don't agree with them. But I would rather come back and address that versus holding up, putting pay scale in place.
But I understand that, but we had plenty enough time to do this. We had plenty enough time to make this right before tonight.
If you go back and according to all of the recommendations, well, not the recommendation, according to the pay plan. You see, that's what's going to have to happen tonight. You have to adopt the pay plan first,
That's right.
and then you adopt the pay scale. And so what I'm saying on here is that all of these numbers that have been brought out and put in place since, oh God, even when I went back and put the PowerPoint presentation up, these numbers that's in this column over here talking about the final plan with the longevity included was what was put up in there. And I went through all of it and explained. That's when the policeman was here, the firefighters, and everybody else was here.
March
But
20.
now, see, when we get over here, this is where your issue comes in. You're talking about, my question is this, you're gonna go through and change the grade. What's the justification for changing the grade?
Well, if you go by the sheet, you can change the grade, but as long as you don't change the step. If you,
The other way around, you can change the steps, you can't change the grade without justification.
I don't have that sheet with me, but if you move them like a grade, you stay in the same grade like a grade two. If you look at one of the people in a grade two, you put them on step three, they just move up to like 945. It's this sheet that I don't have it with me.
Let me go back to the point I made earlier, okay?
I based it on that sheet there. That's it right there.
But the grade, that means if I'm wrong, the job description determine the grade. That's where you're at. The job description determines the grade. If you're gonna go through and change the grade, you gotta change the job description for that position.
Well, then why on the bottom two down here, one of them's a grade two, step one. In the red, it says grade two, step three. The one right under that is grade two, step two, and in the red is grade two, step five. So if all we're worried about is keeping them in the grade, why can't we raise those two, give them those change of steps?
This is the criteria. Neither one of these people have over 10 years of service.
Doesn't matter.
Yes,
I'm
it
not,
does.
no.
Oh, yes, it does.
The longevity,
Councilman Hines, if you're going to be fair about this, you gotta do everybody the same. I will not support anything that is not right and is not fair. And
well,
I am telling you.
when you
that
got a
you
person,
cannot go through and individually identify somebody unless you have some other criteria.
when you've got people making $7.88 and another one making $8.88, and you don't want to raise them to $9.45 and $10.05?
I gotta be consistent. I
Yeah.
gotta be persistent in order to be fair throughout the whole pay scale. Now, as I said, once we get the pay scale adopted, I'm willing to come back and I have a proposal for the council to consider to address this. Yes, ma'am. I have a proposal for the council to consider, but let's stay focused on getting the pay plan in place. Yes, ma'am.
They
that.
vote one way or the other,
No,
not for or against.
We're gonna vote it up or we're gonna vote it down tonight.
You know what? He said, I asked him, you know, he can vote.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
brother was the mayor for 3 years. They wouldn't let him do that.
Well, this is what the procedure would be.
And that was in a net.
When we go in to address the issue, okay, the mayor is the person that sets the agenda. And in this agenda, the way it goes is that has been identified to me by Councilman Bruton and it's identified to me by Councilman Hines, but I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I overheard you say that you didn't have to be accepted for the court.
The only people I can't vote on is the judge and the city attorney. Anybody else is good.
All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through and we're going to vote on the pay plan with the exception of the fire department. So Councilman Bruton has the opportunity to vote on all of the others. Then they're gonna come back and we're gonna vote on the pay plan for the fire department. And he can abstain and don't have to be involved.
Yeah, I just, you know, I was just thinking back, you know, my brother's deceased now, but he was in there for 3 years. And he tried to do that one thing, and they wouldn't let him do it, the league wouldn't let him do it. That's why I was wondering, you know, and it could have been because they doing that thing. You couldn't do it, or maybe not, you can't.
It may have been, but there's no way to go back and, you know, help.
Yeah, that was back
Right.
then, that's why I was
Right.
wondering.
Right. But we can do it that way, and that's the way that we'll proceed with doing when we get into the fourth section. So we do have the ordinance prepared. And
See, the thing about it, we can't vote. I think that thing, you know,
well,
I could up to about a year ago.
and as we went through, and this has
Yeah,
been,
I know.
this is one that's been consistent. It's
Yeah,
not
but I'm
that
just
one
saying,
area. Right.
Yeah, we just.
And so that was why I actually went back and I asked that, because some people are having problems with emails and stuff like that, and I want to make sure everybody got the sheet, and that's why I mailed one personally to each council. That's my direction.
Which ones are you gonna be put up?
We're going to, put up the, final, rate with longevity included.
What?
The longevity.
The next to last column?
Yes. it's
All right.
gonna be the-
The middle column.
No problem.
Let me ask you a question. I'm serious. So you gonna take care of the five people?
Yes, sir. I got a proposal for this.
Got, doesn't, I got right here?
Yes, sir. I have a proposal.
I'm on to it now.
Don't worry. I want to bring it forward. That's fine. I want to.
I mean, because, you know, that was my biggest thing from saying it to you.
I want to.
If we're gonna take care of these people, I mean, this article was in this paper, you know, that, you know, but I wish he had got this fast together before they put the article in the paper, but, you know, everybody's important. I know the police department is important, the firefighters is important,
Everybody's important.
everybody's important.
I agree with you.
A public can work, be out there cutting that grass, somebody run over here with a car, just like somebody get shot.
And not to mention, when you have a hurricane and trees
Yeah,
down
that's
across
right,
the
that's
road,
right, that's
you're
right.
gonna be out there.
That's right. He ain't no different. And that's why I look out for my people.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but like I say, I do have a proposal to bring back to the council to address them, but I want to be focused on getting the pay plan in place. And the good thing about this proposal, we don't have to change grades, we ain't got to create more steps or anything, it will be included in it.
You think you'll like what you bring back?
I think you would. Because from my position, I think everybody deserves a livable wage.
Y'all hear that? I'm serious about that now. I want these folks taken care of.
And I have proposals to do it.
They don't make enough right now to hardly mess up a suit of clothes to come to work. They don't do it.
I mean, y'all, if we come up with that, I'm happy with that.
Well, something else too now, we talked about, well, we should have adopted the Auburn plan. Remember now that a police officer under the Auburn plan was gonna make $15.10 an hour. And now they're making 17.
But it's
What,
still in
15?
relationship to each of them down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference. It was raised because of, the plan is,
I'm for it, Mel. I'm not saying I'm against it. That's what I wanted to do.
yeah.
I'm good with the 1754.
We have found that that's
You know.
not gonna maintain them, it's not gonna
Yeah.
retain them.
What happened to the police that you were in? So that's
Uh,
like radio 7.
I don't have a number on it. I do have another part-time, request tonight to be approved by the council. So we're, we're trying to fill in space with our part-time people. And at some point when we come back, I have a recommendation to the council to address the hiring issue with police officers. But I don't want to get unfocused now. I want to stay focused on this, and let's get this done.
I'm counting 21 police officers.
I want to police officers.
I counted
So you think they'll come back once we do this?
I can't guarantee you that. If they'll come back or not, because I understand there was one, he's on a job now making $20 an hour. Is what I understand. So I can't guarantee you he would leave. I don't know if that includes benefits or not, you know,
I know one went to the meeting, I know that thing.
you know.
And one went to Walmart.
So all I can say this, 1754 an hour is competitive with all of the surrounding areas. And I think that puts us on level playing field. Now, there are other things that we can do, and I'm glad to put it on the agenda to discuss it next council meeting. But, you know, there are things that you can do to even attract better. Now, the good thing about it is that even at this point, I think your point was about when to start. The first pay period in the fourth quarter actually starts around the end of June. So if we vote on this and adopt it tonight, it will go in effect on the first pay period of the fourth quarter, which starts, I think, toward the end of June. The funding's been identified. We have the funding to pay for this. And then we can move forward. I think one of the other things, do we have in the agenda to talk about the budget, where we stand on it?
Yes, sir. The 6-month report.
Yeah, 6 months before. If they got no more questions on the pay plan, I'd like to get to discuss the 6 months.
One more thing.
Yes.
Like, we get a proposal for the next month, so we're gonna, they'll be, these people right here will be on that July 1st plan, right?
If y'all approve it.
If you're building my plan, I'm approve.
Yes, what he was asking is that, on the 18th, I bring proposal forward. If the council approves it, can they be included in the beginning of the July budget? And so all we do, we have to go back and bonify the numbers, but I think the funding is there covered.
I agree with that.
Okay. Just to go through and give an update, there is an attachment when we actually go into the council meeting where we stand on the budget. We're actually, we're under budget on expenditures. So we're on target to make it through to the end of the year. Do we provide that then?
Yes,
to
sir.
everybody?
Here's some copies if y'all need it. You want to give that to Mayor? This has the percentages on it.
Yeah, I got one.
Miss Bowman, does she have it?
Okay. Okay. Is as far as our expenses are concerned, we're under budget, of our projected expenses. So we're not in the hole, we're not in the red. We're on track to spend the budget that was presented for 2021. Now, our revenues are exceeding our budget, by about 78% of what we projected our revenue would be. So we have funds coming in excess of our expenditures. So we're in good shape from a financial standpoint. And I think we've gone through and we had discussions about expenditures, and I appreciate everybody's input on that, because that is how we have obtained this level of funding. So the city is sound. We are financially sound. Does anybody have any questions concerning the budget and where we stand financially? Okay. There's another item that's going to be coming up. Has a lady representative Chamber of Commerce come before the city, came to me with a proposal about a new map for the chamber to put out in the city to advertise in there. This map will be hard copy. In addition to it being hard copy, it will also be
Oh, you need an
available
extra
on
copy?
digital version. I did. I think I let them know.
Sir,
It's black
I
and
didn't
white.
know about that.
you need the copy of the,
Let's show what the map's on this side.
um,
Is it gonna be a ledger with the streets by it and identified by numbers or
It's like
not like
a-
we did one time before?
the big fold out map that the chamber prints.
I got a copy of it right here in the office. I'll check it out.
County on one side, the city. on the other.
We had one time, they had a ledger on the side, and you look for Station Street, you find it.
Should tell you. Fix it to me.
You know, I think that's it.
You can order it, they laminate it, too.
I think I said my brother-in-law was, for 3 years, in 3 terms. Did not 3 years, 3 terms. And that was just down the net. But he passed. And I'm sure he would have gone back in and he had, you know. For 3
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, well, that's why I'm interested, if we won't have them like that again.
We'll have your favorite street on it too.
Does it?
So anyway,
What is my favorite street?
Stupid street.
Is it listed as that?
You have to get with the melt.
You mean the road to nowhere?
so that's, the cost to the city is $900 for that. And it's on the agenda for tonight also.
I'm gonna make a proposal, a motion to do it if they double the amount of maps we get though.
We'll get a digital map,
He
too.
told us how many. it was
I know,
gonna
but we gotta get more than that though, spending that much money.
be. We'll let them know.
I'll tell her that.
Well, the good
I
side-
tell Qualls the same thing. I said, look him up over there.
But the good part is this is digital, so they can actually have it on their phone. You know, they're walking around the street. Yeah. So that's one thing we hadn't had before. We do have issues at the community. Next council meeting. I don't want no car warranty. No, I fix that. We do have issues at the community house. We have flooding that's going on, is actually going into the, corridor area out front and it's causing the towels to come up. Yeah, I think that this has been an ongoing issue. Gentleman was down there to begin the repairs on the gate. the work on the courtyard down there with brick stamping, all that's been completed and it is good. So if we can get the pavilion completed, all of those facilities will be available for anybody that goes to it. The other item I wanted to bring up in the work session is this, Michael still out there.
Oh, you done messed up. What'd I do this time?
I went out with Michael the other day as we were riding, and he showed me a situation over on William Street. You know, what has happened is that when they clean the drains out, finding where all that water is coming down, and it's issue there with the drainage pipe. If we don't go through and fix it, possibility of enough rain hits it, it can blow it out.
It's already eat out part of the road right there beside the shoulder of the road. And what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to build a drop box there and come up, put an inlet there to catch the water. And that way we could be able to shoulder the road back up. Right now, if we try, every time we try to put something on the shoulder, it goes down over the pipe because the pipes are deep. It's that one over there. It actually, once it goes under Williams, it actually goes down on down and goes all the way to the other side of Bergman. And another thing we need to look at too later on in the future, it ain't gotta be right now, but we're gonna need to camera that pipe because whenever it goes towards Bergman and spots down through there, it's like 25 foot deep. And if we had to dig it up and actually replace it, we'd have to take most of them folks' yard in order to dig it up. So we are gonna need in the near future to camera it and see if we can line it. We should be able to line it because it's like a 24-inch pipe. Shouldn't, you know, but it's just gonna be costly. But it'd be a lot cheaper than having to dig the whole thing up and replace it.
So right now, the biggest issue, and I think it's gonna cost about $5,300 to do that repair in there to preserve the street. So, I mean, that's the item on the agenda.
Down at the,
Me or anything.
at the community house, the water coming in the front door. I know whenever we pave down there, we're gonna try and fix that. Is there a way to put some asphalt turbine or something around there to stop that?
Tim was supposed to have got some quotes on doing a grate drain.
Okay.
So it would catch the water and take it down to the end of the building. Now, I don't know where he's at on that. But now, one of the things I'd like to do, I talked with Bill Rainey, and, you know, if we decide to pave, you know, all of that, you know, in the front of the building and everything, that's gonna have to be milled down anyway. Because if you try to go in there and overlay that, that's just gonna throw more water in there. And if we can do it all at the same time, you know, redo the parking lot and all, and that way when we put the grating in there, we can actually put the grating down a little bit lower, because we're gonna need to take some of that asphalt up anyway. You know, and we can lower the asphalt down and then make sure all that water is going to the grate.
So, you know, next council meeting, we need to, we're gonna have to address those issues at the community house and take care of the heating food stuff. And, be prepared to move on for that. No, I guess about 5 minutes, anybody, any comments for work session?
You did that wonderful list. You did that wonderful list for us.
Glad you recognize it.
Appreciate it. Yesterday, today, we done hauled about 450 cubic yards over there, and it hadn't got to the one side yet. Covering that stuff up over on that.
That's the issue we're gonna have to go back and talk about Ivy Street, because we got a location there, the road's actually sinking. So we'll get Williams taken care of, then we'll start looking at Ivy, so we gotta just have funding source for it. You probably already have an idea. Like I said, that's what I believe in. You got an issue, an idea, tell me how we're gonna pay for it, make it a lot easier to move forward.
What do we, the stuff on, the liquor stuff in here, what was that in there for?
What?
Yeah,
Liquor license.
That's for the Valero.
okay, okay.
They're doing a transfer of ownership.
Which one
Jetpack.
is it? That's
There's
what,
something,
third or
there's
fourth
something
time?
going on there with some government money, they change hands in each place of so much. You must get some kind of free interest, or something. That Tesco station changed hands already at least 3 times that I can remember.
And there's some other issues with Texaco and we're working on. And, there's some things that he needs to do, he hasn't done. But I got a dire warning.
It's a hot spot over there.
I met with the owner.
He's out of town, right?
I think he lives in town. I know his manager does.
Yeah.
Them out there, one of those
I think he's.
out of state people that live
Mhm.
New Jersey, Mississippi. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, hotel business.
You got a big front like that.
Do that or
Oh, can you put back with the computer?
I got almost.
Yeah.
But you know, we have some people that did respond to that. And I want to go back and see that when we do all this, and then,
Yeah.
Are you?
Is that what that new funding we got coming? Okay.
How you doing? I'm trying to stand out with everybody's way, right? I try to, but they always telling me. You get what you got, you know, a little rain, you know, everybody else starts telling you. That's true.
Dog come see you.
I hadn't seen him since. What was that?
I
Friday?
ain't ready about that.
Yeah. Mary. Mary. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. The time is now 5 p.m. At this time, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Monroeville to order. Those present, Mayor Andrews, Councilman Bruce, Councilman McDaniel, Councilman Russell, Councilman Thomas, Councilman Hines, and Councilman Polk. At this time, I'll ask for an invitation.
Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here this evening. We thank you for our country, and we thank you for our city and for its leaders. We ask that you be with them here this evening as we discuss the business of the city and guide us in the direction that you would have us take. We also ask God that you protect us and protect the surrounding areas as we have some bad weather approaching. We ask that we may all pass safely. And that tomorrow will be a beautiful day. You know, most especially, we thank you that you sent your son to die for our sins, so we would have eternal life. And make our prayer in the name of your son, Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the work session that held on April 20th, 2021 at 3:30 p.m. And also the minutes for the regular meeting that held on April 20th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Do I have a second? Ready for the question? All in favor? Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is resolution 21-05-001. And this is the classification plan, and the resolution is to adopt all job descriptions as prepared by Auburn DEI for the city of Monroe. Do I have a motion for the adoption of the plan? So moved. Do I have a second? Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a roll call vote. Mr. Al Bruton.
Yes.
Mr. Delman McDaniel. Mr. Kendrick Ruffin.
Yes.
Mr. Anthony Thomas. Mr. Larry Hines.
Yes.
Mr. Melvin Fulton.
Yes.
Thank you. We have that recorded. Okay. The next item on the agenda is resolution 21-05-002. And this is the pay scale to accompany pay plan. And it is to adopt the department pay rates for the police department, admin department, community house, code official, and the nutrition center. Do I have a motion to adopt pay scales for the identified department? So moved. Do I have a second? Okay, roll call vote. All in favor? Councilman Al Bruton.
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Thelma McDaniel. Councilman Kendrick Russell.
Yes.
Councilman Anthony Thomas. Yes. Councilman Larry Hines.
Yes.
Councilman Melvin Fulton.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is for the pay raise for the fire department as provided by the adopted pay rate that have been identified for the fire department. And there will be a roll call vote. Mr. Al Bruton.
Motion on that.
Oh, yes, sorry. A motion to adopt the pay rates for the Fire Department. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Okay. Councilman Al Cruz. Okay, Councilman Thelma McDaniel. Councilman Kendrick Ruffin.
Yes.
Councilman Anthony Thomas. Councilman Larry Hines.
Yes.
Councilman Melvin Cole.
Yes.
Okay, now, for the court department, I also need a motion to adopt the, pay scale and application to this, court department. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? All right, all in favor? Okay, roll call vote. Councilman Al Bruton. Yes. Councilman Thelma McDaniel. Councilman Kendrick Ruffin.
Yes.
Councilman Anthony Thomas. Councilman Larry Hines. Councilman Melvin Cole.
Yes.
Okay, motion so carried. Thank you. Okay, the next, resolution is resolution 2105-003. And this is the 6-month financial report fiscal year 2021. As it stands right now, our revenues are exceeding budget and our, expenses are under budget, which leaves the city in very, very good financial condition. So do I have a motion to adopt the 6-month financial report for fiscal year 2021? Do I have a second? Second. Okay, are we ready for the question? All in favor? Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, the next resolution, item D, resolution 21-05-004. This is weed and debris abatement, which will be set for public hearing for June 2nd.
Can we change that date to June 15th?
June 15th. Okay. Modify this. Okay. I have a notice for the resolution to set a public hearing for June 15th, for weed and debris abatement. Do I have a motion to set the public hearing? Make a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Is there any discussion? There being none, ready for the question, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E on the agenda is to set a public hearing for ABC liquor license at the Merrill. And this is necessary because there is a transfer of ownership of that, business. And requested to set the public hearing for May 18th at 4:50 p.m. Do I have a motion to set the public hearing for liquor license for the Merrill? Do I have a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Any opposed? Being none, we move to item F. And this is the city map expense. It's $900. This map is sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. They also provide, I don't remember the number, but it is so many map hard copies to the city. They will also be available in a digital version that so that people can access it from an iPad, iPhone, smartphone, whichever. So the city will,
500 maps.
500.
500.
The chamber will also have 2,000 maps, and we will be happy to get y'all more.
Okay, I was gonna include it in discussion there, it doesn't get more maps than that.
Yes.
'Cause
I'll
I mean,
have
it's-
2,000.
it's gonna
That's right.
it'd be a
We'll
great
have
value for us, because my numbers would basically double with it. They're all.
So we'll have 2,000, and I know we will, we'll be happy to get the city, the courthouse will also have a big supply and everybody that needs.
All right, do I have a motion, to approve the expenditure of $900 for the purchase of the city map?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is dealing with new part-time hires for the police department. And at this time, it looks like, I think we only have one. And that is for Christian Stallman. Okay, Mr. Stallworth, is applying for part-time employment with the city of Monroeville as a part-time program with the police department. Christian Stallworth is presently employed with the Monroe County Sheriff Department as a deputy in the General Department since 2019, so he is both certified. The Chief Armstrong is requesting Christian Stallworth to be paid $14.43 an hour on the current pay scale. According to their background, there has been no disciplinary issue with Sean Stallworth in his current position in this area. So, do I have a motion for the retirement of Christian Stallworth as the new partner in the police department for the city of Monroe? Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. All right. Any discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. The next item on the agenda is concerning repairs to William Street. And we have a quote for R&R contractors for $5,300. The funding source has been identified. And this is necessary because of the amount of work that's going into that drain and possibility of building up a good road street. So in order to, we do have a quote from R&R contractor, $5,300 to correct this issue. Do I have a motion to award this contract to R&R construction contract? Do I have a second? Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. I think that completes our agenda. Comments from the mayor. I want to say that I have appreciated working with the council. I know this pay scale issue has been something that is ongoing. It is not easy. When you look at it from the front, there are a lot of details that are included. And I appreciate the work of the council and the diligence of the council and their commitment to getting this pay scale in place, because our city employees are our most valuable assets. And I think that that was shown tonight. The other thing under my comments is that we began a litter campaign. And I think Ms. Gruden is here, she can attest that Monroeville set a record for bags of litter collected during the month of April during the campaign. I think we have a little over 200 bags. And I want to compliment the citizens of Monroeville for their commitment to going back and beautifying our city. That's basically all I have. If I have any matters, council members, council group.
The only thing I have is when they pick up the big pan at the fire station 1, and I noticed that the regular dumpster we had is missing again. So maybe they can return the 6 or 8 gallons, whatever they need, for normal dumping in there.
They had actually come and picked it up a good while before this one.
Okay. So we paid them pretty well.
And I think all they did though, is the one we have at the fire station, they upped the size of it a little bit and took the big one. So the one like at Station 2, they removed from Station 1, it hadn't been there in a couple of months.
I think the one at Station 2 is different than the one that we had before. I don't know, it might be a little bigger, it might be an 8, but.
We'll follow up with you.
That's all I have, man.
Did we have very many people to participate on Saturday with the cleanup?
I think we did.
I mean,
I
I didn't
think
see
in
what,
like 30 bags back then.
about 10 people. I thought.
We probably had about roughly about 25, but it's been rescheduled twice because it rained the weekend before, and we've been doing it the entire month as opposed to one specific day.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
didn't
where our
know.
numbers
We was
are.
like 10 on Saturday. And I was just one.
We've had quite a few people come during the week, like Bench Fair, distribution center. They picked up the other week. Some local residents have come like on Friday and got stuff and bought it instead of being a family Saturday.
I think middle school did some too yesterday or today.
Today, we met with them today.
And, also, in the area in which I was working, I had about 5 little boys tonight. I want to know what we were doing. I told them they want to be involved on the next one. So I told them we're going to be doing it every second Saturday of the month. We're not going to do it this Saturday because we just did it this past Saturday. So the second Saturday in June is, we'll do it again. And I'm going to go down there and pick them all up. I already asked this group to get them some child size reflective vest. And I appreciate them, getting the children involved. Anything else, Councilman? Councilman Murphy? Councilman Tom? Councilman Pope?
I'm deeply saddened by this weather. Just got stuff on my line right here. Very gratefully accepted.
Can you read it?
Department head. In fact, I do let you go ahead and address that.
To the council, I have been recruited by the Alabama League of Municipalities to become the education coordinator on June 2nd, 2021. This is an advancement in my career, which I feel is best for me and my daughter to consider at this time. I've enjoyed working with Mayor Andrews and support his visions to move the city forward. Thank you for allowing me to be your city clerk and treasurer for the last 6 years. I would like Wednesday, May 19th to be my last physical working day and use 80 hours of my sick time until May 27th and exhaust my vacation account on June 10th pay period. I would like to donate my remaining sick leave of 250 hours towards a bank for other employees to use if they run out. I'll be happy to help train an interim city clerk treasurer to learn all of the responsibilities within my position and will be available after I leave for any and all questions. Thank you, Mary Jackson.
Okay. Okay, we have received the letter of resignation from Ms. Jackson. Do I have a motion to accept it? Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Ms. Jackson, it is with deep regret I accept it, but when you talk to me about it, I am first to say that those are personal decisions that individuals have to make. And others that have come to me, and that's my advice, in making those decisions. My advice is always been to do, feel, and just for you and your family. And I do go through and take the council and say all the work you did. I can go back and I got an example of the exemplary work you did. And I came back and I put in and I asked all of the department heads to provide a snapshot of what they're going to do in the future. And everything that was on was in order. And I like to again and I just so if it comes down to a point, we ask for a reference. You got it.
Just appreciate y'all passing the pay scale and just clarification that July 1st, October 1st.
It begins with the first pay period of the fourth quarter. We actually start in.
Thanks.
So like you said, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And also, we got the large item drop off there at the shop, and it'd be from 8 to 2, and there'll be no electronics accepted at this time. We don't have no way to dispose of them, and but there will be a container there to put in scrap metal or washing machine, stuff like that. Refrigerators, deep freeze cannot have antifreeze, Freon in it. So, but now, make sure there's no household garbage, because Any household garbage, be turned away.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes, we look forward to Freedom Fest pageant this Friday, 7 p.m. at the Wesley Hall at First United Methodist Church.
Jackie?
Did you wanna do anything with the one of the units? So I just need to do what I need to do and then get back with you.
There is an item that I did not address, and that's the first of the one with community housing. I'll make a motion. Second, all in favor of purchasing? The other issue will come back to be prepared to discuss this.
That sounds good, thank you.
Paul?
I want to thank the council for passing the pay scale resolution, and that's all on my part.
Attorney Harris?
I hope
Pleased to have you.
the replacement is coming made that.
Thank you, sir. I would- Okay, there being no further business for the city council of the city of Monroe, do I have a motion to adjourn? I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting of city council of Monroe. Do I have a second? Thank you.
Just some people.
Gonna be up all
I got it. We have a good day.
Or at least this night.
Thank you. Well, Mary, you can put that in the paper so it's written correctly.
Very.
Congratulations.
The mayor's on it.